I will now start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you for the time that has given to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I move to the restates of my teams, I would like to give some rebuttal for the opposition's teams that I can conclude about. There's some of the points that I can rebut in here. First, not having a proper sanitations and lack of food. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes, you said it is impoverished, this corruption is done. It can fix their conditions when they won't have a proper sanitations and lack of food. But what you need to know is that is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Apart from being impoverished, we will also give them a prison. And in the prison itself, they won't have a lack of food, or not having a proper sanitations, or even living in the street. They will be punished, and they will be provided with the 3 meals a day and a place for them to having a clean for themselves and having a proper place to sleep. They can even learn from the prison itself, though, so they want to do their action anymore. Second, punish the family as well. Ladies and gentlemen, from the opposition teams also said that this could torture the families of the corruptors, which we can see from the status quo that the corruptors themselves are mostly members of parliament or even government, or even the high-class people, where they before thought about committing corruptions. They already had their own fixed income, where they will invest for their family. So their family won't be lack of food and will not live in the street, because the assets that will take away are those that come from the process of the corruptions. Third is they will be low-class person and unemployed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll look at the current phenomena or even the status quo that corruption is often carried out by the respected people, by the people who have high positions and are educated. This means that the corruptors have fulfilling life in the material terms. However, the question that have many people ask is, why are there still officials who have enough materials but still commit acts of corruptions? If you already know that there risk of corruptions, so why would they do that? It's simple, don't do that if you know the risk of the corruption itself. So, after all the rebuttal, I would like to go to the restates from all of the argument from all of the teams already said before. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will explain to you once again what is impoverishment itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the impoverishment of the corruptors is carried out by the confiscations of all objects that are the results of the criminal act of the corruption itself, or by payment or replacement money in the amount of which, in accordance with the state's financial losses, accordance with the states taken and arising from the criminal acts of corruptions. Ladies and gentlemen, the applications of the impoverishment of the application of the impoverishment can be applied in the process of the punishing the corruptor itself. This can be done by fully returning the assets that we have been corrupted, that they have been corrupted by the corruptors to the states. This is done so that the corruptors can determine effects of the corruptions that can be so it can be minimized. The distribution of the spoil or fines from the corruptor is handed over to the states to be included to the state's assets. So, ladies and gentlemen, the corruptors that has stolen a lot of money in the states meant we are going to take their assets in order to make them pay back of everything they already stole. When you do crime, you need to take the consequences. Of course, we all know that. So this house would use this principle of justice. The corruptors will be defined from how much money that they already stolen, and they need to return the equal, like 100 to up to 150% of what they already stolen. So, ladies and gentlemen, what our goal is to prevent the corruptions to happen again. So, ladies and gentlemen, the goal is to make them regret for their actions and make them don't want to repeat. And the status quo is always failed us. You know that. And for that, the most effective measure to stop the corruption is by cutting the vein of the corruption through the impoverished of the corruptors. This is because if the corruptor was not impoverished, they would still commit crime, even inside of the jail, with the money they obtain from corruptions. So how to make this principle of justice works? So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to know that to apply money laundering and corruption law, it actually works for the for this case, because asset tracing needs to be conducted, and asset tracing is conducted by the investigator assisted by the forensic auditor, and they will tracing the financial transaction evidence related to the asset resulting from the criminal act. The purpose of the asset tracing is to know the existence and the type of the assets that are hidden, which originated from the criminal act itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are going to happen if the impoverished is applied? First, the punishment for the corruptors is failed to achieve justice with this. Second, some sections of the severe corruptions will make people who want to be corrupt will think twice. So, and the third one, the last one, the effect of these impoverishments of the corruptor will be long and sustainable, as making the corruptors becoming the differences. So they will not commit corruptions again, because the punishment is heavy for them, and people will understand that and will realize that. So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why that this house will totally agree to do impoverish to the corruptor itself. That's all from my speech. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. I'm the closing government, and I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before I proceed, I would like to reinstate our principle one more time, which is that if you do the crime, you should be prepared to serve the time. Okay, so now to conclude our arguments thus far. Firstly now, impoverishment is an effective way to rehabilitate the corruptors, because impoverishment forces the corruptors to relieve the consequences of their action to the vulnerable actor, which will cause deterrent effect for the corruptors and make them not to become a worse individual than they already are. Now, can this punishment really be rehabilitational? It is, in fact, can be. Now, it is supported by 2 points right here. Okay, the first point is that this punishment is rehabilitational for the corruptors, since they are not the vulnerable ones. The corruptors only live the experience, but they are not the vulnerable actor themselves. Which this punishment in some sort of way pretty much now this makes the punishment in itself pretty much educational and rehabilitational for the corruptors. Now the next point. Impoverishment is also effective as a preventative act for the aspiring politicians. This is because if those aspiring politicians were able to take witness the punishment given to such people, or the corruptors themselves, they will rethink their decisions of profiting from the vulnerable ones, or the one that live on or below the poverty line. Now, this will cause the domino effect of declining rate of corruption in the future. This is because, seeing that previously corruptors only get a slap on the wrist as a punishment, aspiring politicians may become inclined to do the same thing. So, by applying the punishment of impoverishment, which is actually more severe than the previous punishment that can be analogized as just a slap on the wrist, the government may cut down said desire from them. Okay, the next point is, how will impoverishment help the vulnerable ones? Right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen of the jury, impoverishment will help the vulnerable actors, such as what I just said, people that are living on or below the poverty line, which is not the corruptors at all, to get back what was stolen from them. This is possible since the government themselves help those vulnerable actors directly. So the money and the assets that is taken by the government to impoverishment can be returned to the people, especially the vulnerable ones that totally needs the help the most. Okay, the next point I would like to make is that impoverishment does not affect the family of the corruptors or any other person beside the corruptors themselves. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would like to remind you that if the corruptors are able to commit the crime themselves, they must have thought the consequences of their action as well. This is why if the family suffers after they do the corruption, it's not because of the impoverishment enacted on them. It is actually because of their own action. Now, the moment they commit the crime, they should already know the consequences of their action. Who will be affected by this action? Is it only themselves, or is their family also involved? And besides at that point, the moment the corruptors got caught, the family already suffers thanks to the media. Now, if a corruption does happen in a certain place, maybe a certain country, the media will act like hawks and gather all over this group because they want to report what is happening in their country. Now, but the media does not only report the person that commits the act of crime, of corruption themselves. They will also report the person that is affiliated to them, their families, their friends, their co-workers. This will most definitely harm their images as well. Now, so in that conclusion, impoverishment does not affect the family names, does not affect the family image. Okay. Now, into my next one. Why is money due to justice and reparation in this case of corruption? So, ladies and gentlemen, money can be a metric of justice since corruption on itself deprived the country from the money that they stole. So, just punishing them with fines and jail time is never enough. We have to impoverish them so that they can pay back what they took while also reflect on their action. Since they have taken so much from the nation, especially from the most vulnerable people in the country, in this country, so money needs to be paid back in order to restore the people's welfare and also people's well-being. Now, that is all from me. That is all for my speech. Thank you very much.